Time in the history of a democratic South Africa, the approval of the country's proposed budget faces deep uncertainty. Political parties represented in the Government of National Unity have been at odds over some of Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana's proposals, especially a 1 percentage point VAT increase over 2 years. The minister is arguing that the hike is necessary. We saw members of parliament discussing the budget, but are also expected to vote on that budget today. So let's talk about the political atmosphere around South Africa's fiscal framework. And we are joined by political analyst Dr Ebrahim Harvey. Dr. Harvey, good morning to you, and thank you as always for your time. Really appreciate it. This budget is really down to the wire, it would seem, and it does present another stress test for the GNU. Cyril Ramaphosa, the president, and the leader of the DA, John Steenhuisen, met. The ANC has been lobbying outside the GNU, but it seems that they are still talking. Are you expecting a breakthrough?
Hi, good morning, Iman. Thanks for this opportunity, and good morning to the viewers. No, well, I don't know if you've been following the news right up until last night, It seems that a deal, however shaky and vulnerable it may be, has been struck between the ANC and Action SA. If you look at it very closely, in fact, that deal, they call it a breakthrough deal, is what the DA has been saying all along. In fact, the DA has been better than what SA has said. And basically what it revolves around is that besides the objection to VAT, the DA has pointed out that the problem doesn't really lie with revenue so much. It lies with state expenditure. And they looked at how much money, billions, could be saved on cutting down on fruitless and wasteful expenditure, a bloated cabinet, and an austerity budget. We've had an austerity budget demand for many years. This is just a continuation of it. But the reason why VAT has become such an explosive matter is precisely because we're sitting at the most crisis-ridden socio-economic and political conjuncture in post-apartheid history. It's never been so bad.
Yeah.
The cost of living crisis, you've seen yesterday, the Eskom increase, electricity, everything. People are starving, literally, Iman. The biggest hunger, malnutrition, even stunted development of children has increased over the past few years. So that is why you'll see the trade union, civil society in general has come out as protest marches in Cape Town all across the country against this VAT increase. The ANC has shot itself in the foot. Let me tell you, they've already lost the 29th May election 2024. And don't forget, next year is the local government elections. They lost 2016 and 2021 in the most important region of Gauteng. So when you look at that, this is suicidal. Right. What the ANC has done to push, can you imagine it was 2% before and now down to 1% and been split 50-50. But, people are barely surviving, and at the very worst time to have come out with a VAT increase. And, it's a regressive tax, meaning that it will hurt and harm most the poorest people.
Right. So Ebrahim, let me come in there. And believe it or not, it may surprise you. I do watch the news. I was asking the question related to that relationship between the DA and the ANC, given that they're the anchor parties in the GNU, because it would talk about the future of the GNU, and you kind of put me to the post around the movements by Action SA yesterday, effectively giving their support to the ANC together with the IFP. Well, let's talk about the numbers then, right? And where we sit today before we talk about the future of the GNU. It sounds, and if you look at the piece in the Daily Maverick this morning, in terms of the numbers put together, the ANC needs 201 votes. They seem to be sitting at around 200 right now. They could go, outside of the DA to get this done. But would this be the right move, given the importance of what the GNU represents for South Africa right now? Or is this a risk they simply must take?
No, they're taking the risk already, and they're taking it big time. I don't know if you've heard Ramaphosa and Enoch Godongwana and the rest of the NEC people really who've spoken up to this matter. They're actually putting this is why I think really the GNU is going to explode with this VAT crisis. they've actually put them under terms. If you've read between the lines and closely, basically saying that if the DA doesn't vote in favor of this, then in fact the GNU is in serious trouble. Basically saying that it's over. You must listen very carefully. The ANC has actually threatened the DA that if they oppose this bill this afternoon, they are going to be in such serious problems, and with it, the GNU. Iman, I've said it from the outset, the GNU was on very slippery slope. And in fact, since the origins and the Bella thing and the NHI and the expropriation bill has just exacerbated and deepened the problems and the crisis. I think now what this tax VAT thing is going to do is to push this thing to the brink of a probable split in the GNU, where the ANC and it's trying its best to get other parties in, and you can see what am I talking about? That they and the EFF are joining. You know, increasingly they seem to be moving in tandem with the ANC. So you could likely see a reconfiguration of the GNU, which omits and excludes the DA, but only if they can muster the necessary support to reach 50+1.
So this is we've said at the inception of the GNU that South Africa was in uncharted waters, and it's not to be entirely unexpected. You know, we've been 30 years into democracy. We're expecting to see, coalitions reinvent themselves and government redefine how governments work in a country like South Africa. So we're in kind of an experimental moment, it would seem. Just, you have the benefit of this institutional understanding of how South Africa has gotten to this particular point. Should it be something that we're worried about, these tensions, these controversies, the rearrangement of power, or is this all par for the course in the way that South Africa is defining its future?
No, we need to get ready for, in fact, it's already in process, in motion. There's a reconfiguration of power, political power, that's taking place in South Africa that began when the ANC lost the 29th May elections last year. If you look also what is happening there are global implications. You look at the Trump administration, its attitude, Rasul being recalled, expelled basically from the USA. So there's a number of elements, and also the Middle East that is actually going to deepen, I think, in effect, the crisis in South Africa. So it's not just what is happening to the GNU, and really it's hit now bottom line. I think the GNU is in very serious trouble to the extent where I do not think now, I've said it before, but if you look at the background of the Bella, the NHI and expropriation bill, and now this very combustible VAT thing that's taking place in the midst of the biggest cost of living crisis ever in post-apartheid, if not ever in the history of this country, since 1910 when the Union of South Africa was formed. So in answer to your question, no, definitely the massive reconfiguration of power, now particularly hitting the GNU, will take place. Whether it's going to work out in favor of the ANC, I doubt very much, to be honest with you. And I'll tell you, the acid test is going to be next year's local government elections. And already I can tell you in advance, especially because of this VAT increase, the ANC is very probably going to lose the 2026 local government elections, Iman.
All right. Well, we have your predictions there on the record, Dr. Ebrahim Harvey. Thank you, as always. Some of those sentiments we've heard before, and you're saying the writing certainly seems to be on the wall for this GNU. Massive change in the weeks and the months ahead. We appreciate your time and your analysis, Dr. Ebrahim Harvey.
Thank you.